What's up, everyone? This is Zack Gall from ICO Alert. This past week, I had the chance to catch up with Vaeon. They are the most recent project to receive investment from Block.One's massive $1 billion EOS VC fund. The intention of the EOS VC fund is to grow, develop, and support the EOSIO ecosystem through venture capital investments, partnerships, and mentorship activities targeting game-changing, blockchain-based products and entrepreneurs across the globe. The fund is supported and deployed through partnerships with established venture capital teams such as Galaxy Digital, led by Mike Novogratz, Tomorrow BC, which has ties to former Google CEO Eric Schmidt, SVK Crypto, what's up Shane, EOS Global, and in this particular case, FinLab AG. The projects being supported through EOS VC have all been vetted and have passed due diligence requirements to ensure they are equipped with the skills and industry connections to lead the way in shaping the next generation of technology and the internet. I got the chance to sit down with the Vaeon team to discuss who they are, what they're building, why they chose EOS, and how others can get in touch with EOS VC based on their own personal experiences. If you'd like to learn more or get in touch with Vaeon, you can find their links in the description below. Please do not take any part of this episode as legal, tax, investment, or financial advice. Neither myself nor ICO Alert hold any stake in Vaeon or in Staffo. However, we do both own EOS tokens. And as a matter of disclosure, this is not a sponsored podcast. However, travel and accommodations were provided by the Vaeon team as part of my participation in their Blocktoberfest conference. I hope you guys like this episode, so let me know what you think in the comments below. And don't worry, I'll still be putting out an episode this Friday with Rob Finch, where we'll recap the latest news and announcements around EOSIO. If you like the show and want to help others find it, support it by liking or subscribing wherever you're watching or listening. Now let's get to it. Welcome to Everything EOS. I'm here today in Munich, Germany with Andreas and Pedro from Vaeon. For those who missed the news last week, Vaeon is the latest project to be funded by the EOS VC fund and the first project to be funded by FinLab. Andreas, why don't you tell me about your background and how you got into crypto?
Yeah, I'm Andreas Mikolajewski. I'm the CEO of Vaeon. I have a background in computer science, studied computer science here in Germany, and worked in the software industry for around 10 years now. I started in the blockchain space around 3 years ago, just got fascinated by Bitcoin, later I dug more and more into all this stuff, got interested in other projects. Last year I worked with Iconic Labs. I worked for them as a technical consultant, reviewed like several ICOs for them and just get to know much more about the space. Later I joined the IOTA Foundation, and then I moved into the Vaeon project just recently.
How about you, Pedro? What's your background? How'd you get into crypto? What's your role with Vaeon?
So my name is Pedro Lopez. I'm the COO of Vaeon. My background is in industrial engineering, and then I moved into management, so did 2 masters, and that's what led me to Germany. After my master, then I joined for a short period with Deutsche Bank in their innovation team that they had, and at that point, that's when I got into crypto because they were analyzing how different technologies could be applied to their current products. So for instance, AI, big data, and among those also blockchain. And at that point, that's when back in 2016, I got really fascinated of how can many different areas in the bank would be benefited from this technology. And then from there on, I took it as like a personal hobby and got more into it and went down the crypto rabbit hole.
I think everyone has that story about the crypto rabbit hole. So I got a chance to hang out with these guys over the weekend. The reason I'm here in Munich is because they invited me to a conference they held this past Friday. They called it Blocktoberfest. You guys want to kind of talk about what about the event and what it was and who was there?
Yeah, we invited like 30, 40 handpicked people that were like from the industry, from different blockchain projects, from like influencers. You guys, Ivan on Tech was here. And we just wanted to have it like a small networking event. We also had a public event like 2 months ago where we had like more people, obviously publicly, but
So it's pretty much to introduce more people to your project. It's still really young. You're still growing your community.
Exactly. So
I don't think anyone really heard of you guys until the press release came out about FinLab.
Yeah.
So hopefully
we were working a lot behind the scenes. So we are already in the talks with a lot of partners and trying to connect the dots.
It's also important for, sorry, just to jump in there. It's also important for us to like bring value to the community. So for instance, in the area that we are located, which is Heidelberg, we're starting to create like this meetup. As Andreas said, we organized one like 2 months ago, and we really want to do that because there's no so much activity in the region. So that's why we also, now that we did here in Munich, we actually want to kind of bring to this value to the ecosystem that is in Germany.
So I guess I forgot to ask this. Why don't you explain what Vaeon protocol is and what problem is it trying to solve?
Yeah, so basically we want to put the user back into control of his personal data. And how we do it is we are an independent open layer 2 solution on the EOS network. So what we want to do is basically a user can bring his digital identity, which is stored decentrally, partially on the EOS blockchain, but mostly on a decentralized source solution like IPFS. And he can just bring his data set to any application that he wants to. So there are 3 main propositions that we have for the user. It's, first is data privacy, so only he is in charge and in control of his data. He can monetize his data on the open free marketplace, which is not existent so far. And the third one is that he has the possibility to decide which application he has to use without losing years of history that he's built up on Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. Social network or any application that he's using nowadays. And it's also like if you put some data in one application, it changes automatically in the other application because it's like a single source of truth and you bring your data wherever you want.
It's really cool. I think it's cool that you're building a protocol on top of a protocol. We see that a lot on Ethereum projects, but I'm not real sure if any EOS projects have like really
I think that's actually a really important thing to do because if you look at the internet, it's like it's consistent of 7 layers that abstract different things until the end user gets his finished product, which is like just usable as we know nowadays, like mom and dad can use it. And my perspective is that right now people are always asking for dApps, and they are asking like, oh, why don't they have this dApps? Like, why don't they have more users and et cetera, et cetera. But I think the technological framework is not just ready yet. And I think there should be several layers that are controlling this decentralized economy, the Web 3.0 basically. And for that reason, we focus on especially this one thing that we want to do right. And we're like a thin layer, which like everyone should use, and we are not like enforcing some stuff centrally or something. It's just like, it's interconnecting.
When can we expect the white paper? Because I think the community, now that they know who you are and what you're trying to do on a broad level, a lot of...
Yeah, we actually released it like this week. We obviously had like a lot of iterations on several materials, obviously, also before we got the investment from EOS VC. But we released a public version to the investors last week, and we are like polishing it up for release.
It will be available in the website very, very soon. So that's why now people will be able to actually see what our value proposition is and what we are offering to the user. Because important to note is that we are also trying to bring value not only to the user, but also like there's problems across the board where there's like if you're an application or if you're a business who's trying to find data. So like we are trying to bring this transparency to the market where like companies can sell data if the user allows them to. And also that brings some value because then the user is in control and decides, but also companies can access to more data because now like the data is interconnected. So that's why we have different stakeholders there.
Yeah.
So just so you guys know, we all it's Oktoberfest here in Munich. I got a good chance to talk to these guys last night. Had a really good time at Oktoberfest. And one of you guys said something that was interesting about GDPR and in Europe how a lot of these companies aren't even monetizing user data like they do in the US. So as far as like, I thought that was interesting because it gives you a nice on-ramp to user adoption from the businesses. Because in the US, data is gold. So it's going to be really hard for them to take away the power of them controlling the data. Whereas to onboard a business in Europe, they're not making money on the data.
It's quite similar probably in the US too for smaller companies. Because like the ones that are actually able to monetize the data are like the big giants, Facebook, Google, etc. But in fact, that's also what we say. We don't only have the three value propositions to the users, but we also have enough value propositions to the businesses. So we want to onboard the businesses. We don't want to disrupt them or whatever. Like we actually have a tight eye on building sustainable business models, or not building them, but giving them a perspective of sustainable business models. So the thing is, small companies, they don't have the user base at all, but like, so they struggle to innovate with their business ideas. But like the mid-size and big companies, and that's probably what you were referring to. So we are in the talks with several big companies in Germany, and they struggle to monetize the data because if you don't have the holistic profiles, you're not really able to monetize it, because data is only worth more if it's interconnected. Because
so the larger the data set on a user, the more valuable.
Exactly. Think of it like this: a bit is already data, 0 or 1. It's worth nothing. But if you connect more bits, and then it's like your name, and then your name is probably still not worth anything. But if you connect your name to something else, the more you connect, the more the value grows.
Yeah, the more businesses get information, and then they can build value propositions. But to your question, I think it's important to say, like as Andreas mentioned, we're talking with different potential partners, and like a common question that we receive is like, or like not only when we talk to them, but we present the product, is like, these guys hold the data, and why would they go through this route, like something like Vaeon? And as you said, like here in Europe, this is something that's already, like, the direction is going to that place, because we have the GDPR, and companies, they now have to adapt to this new standard, and we're trying to give them the tools to get there.
I feel like GDPR just overcomplicated something that could be completely like revolutionized with blockchain. Like blockchain could solve the problem that GDPR was trying to solve, but in a much better, more efficient way.
Definitely, yeah.
So how'd the project get started, and where'd the idea come from?
Yeah, so basically we are also associated with Instafo. So basically I started talking with Instafo about ICO that they wanted to perform. And
what is Instafo? Like, what do they do?
Yeah, Instafo is already successful business here in Germany. They are an HR company. They do like reverse recruitment, and basically they connect people to employers. So
I read the press release you guys put out on Tuesday. It said they had like a lot of data sets, a lot of customers already, a lot of users, a lot of business partners. What are the numbers like on that?
Yeah, they have like over 1,000 business customers, and several million user profiles that they want to bring to the protocol. So that's basically the first use case. So how all of this happened is I talked to Instafo a lot, and they wanted to do an ICO with Instafo. But the thing is, to be really decentralized, independent, or actually use the properties of blockchain, you have to open the system. You have to be independent, so everyone can participate. There's no entity that is like has special rights or something. And that's what I explained them extensively until they basically said, okay, I mean, we want to do this. We want to be a first mover in this space. We want to bring our customers, we want to bring our users to such an economy, like the Web 3.0 economy. Mm-hmm. And how can we build this? What's the real deal? What's actually utilizing blockchain?
So you're already working there, and it sounds like...
I was not working there. I was working with them.
Oh, with them.
Yeah, and then basically we said, okay, we have to build this independently. And
so whose idea was it that blockchain could really help out their business model? Was it you coming to them about that, or did they come to you about it? How'd that?
So they come to me first because they wanted to have consultancy about their project. Mm. But basically I had the concept already, and I just told them...
The transition was natural because like to make it easier the audience is in Stafo, what they're doing is they're basically trying to also remove the middleman. So they have a platform which is connecting users with jobs, and then like they just post this and they can connect within the platform. So then what the initial idea is, how do we improve this system that they already had? So then that's when they go out and say, okay, maybe we should have a look into blockchain. And that's how actually the whole project started, because they say, okay, this is like a technological improvement that we can bring to our value proposition, to our business. And then the transition went from there on how, okay, the project then can be extended for a larger use case. And then we say, okay, we should not keep it into the HR area. So it's more valuable if we extend it to actual personal data, which is encompassing so many more things, like whatever you post or like whatever you see on the web, and so many things that is with personal data.
What I found interesting is one of the biggest problems right now with dApps in general, blockchain in general, is user adoption. So I thought it was very interesting because you already you're in like a complete partnership within Stafo. So could you explain?
That's an interesting part, because in fact, like when we developed the protocol, or I had like several ideas about how you can manage that, probably I wouldn't have started by myself. But in Stafo said, guys, we want to really make this happen, and we want to bring the users there. And they have so many industry connections. That's why we're in talks with so many businesses that are interested right now. So basically, it was like a very good fit, because I brought like the vision and the blockchain technology, like all the knowledge I accumulated through the years, and they want to make this happen.
I thought it was interesting. I think you explained it to me last night. So Vaeon's just a protocol, and it doesn't really need to make money. That's not the monetization strategy long term.
Yeah.
And then Stafo is going to be the first application to build on top of Vaeon, and that's kind of the business strategy is. And Stafo is going to build a business model, an enterprise level business model. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, sure.
On top of the protocol, and then that'll kind of be a proof of concept, and then you're in talks with other companies, obviously.
Yes.
The goal is to bring more people to actually start building not only on our protocol but also building on EOS, and then that's what we're doing. Like we're creating this standard so that more people can build stuff, and it's easier to actually integrate or have data interoperability within these different applications. And for that's we believe there's a standard needed, and we want to bring more people to start building on this ecosystem.
Think of it like that. If you start just building a dApp on EOS, for example, you do the decentralized Facebook. I mean, probably the code is decentralized and everything, but at some point, if this platform is dying down or is not doing what you want to do, it's still kind of centralized. So there are like a lot of aspects of being centralized. It's not centralized in the code, but it's centralized in the sense that you cannot move away from it without like leaving everything behind. So this is the thing. If you go for a dApp already, in my opinion, it's probably too early, because you cannot have these value propositions that we are giving. And also what other projects are doing is like, we will build a blockchain, basically a whole blockchain to do whatever ID verification, or like there are competitors around there. But the thing is with that's a whole nother sphere, because think of it like how hard is it to create EOS? And this is a whole set of problems that is like merging into with your problems. But we say no, EOS is already a fine system, not a fine. I think it's a great system.
Why don't we get into that? Why'd you guys choose EOS? Let's just get into that. I love EOS.
Yeah.
And you guys know that after hanging out with me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I am also an EOS advocate, because I think the system is like very well designed, especially in the on the scalability front. It does, in my opinion, the right. It did the right choices with finding a compromise between scalability and having the block producers and everything. And I think it's right now the best scaling platform. And the also most important point is that users don't have to pay for transactions just by saying
that's in general any dApp building on EOS.
Because we say it has to be seamlessly integrated. As I said, like mom and dad should use this. these protocols and this blockchain applications.
And this was also like an input that we had like from the very beginning, for instance, when we were collaborating.
Did you guys consider any other protocol, or it was EOS from the start?
Yeah, we considered different things. So that's what I was going to say. Like within staff at the beginning, like they said, like, you know, like we have a business, and like people like are just accessing the platform and so on. And like, when we consider this part of the transactions fees, that's something that we really hinder adoption. So at the beginning, we were like, okay, we consider Ethereum as a possibility, and we also say, okay, Ethereum versus kind of EOS, and at the end we believe Ethereum has like very good use cases for different stuff, but like for us it's really critical that because we want to bring adoption of really big companies and business grade solutions, and for us it was important to have like a high speed of transactions and also a high volume, and also that anything that you build on there and could be like, you know, everyone who's building is new stuff, and there are gonna be mistakes, and we want to be able to amend those mistakes fast, obviously, but also that not like, oh, okay, now this is completely locked down and there's no way going back. So that was also very important for us because we're gonna be a lot of trial and error in the beginning till we fine tune it.
That's awesome.
I mean, especially for Web 3.0 applications, I think there's no better platform than EOS right now.
So you guys got to make it to Blockchain Live. I wish I was there. Rob, my usual co-host, was in London. He told me a little bit about it. What was your guys' experience at Blockchain London, like getting to interact with the EOS community and other projects? And
yeah, absolutely. It was awesome to see like how many people are building on EOS and what's going on there, and especially like get the connections to Block.One directly. So we're in contact with them now and are talking about like how we can align like our strategy with what EOS wants and Block.One envisions with what they are doing. So
I find that important because I think I've seen it kind of, there's a lot of different development teams working on the same stuff, and it's fine if they're all kind of doing something similar, but what you don't really want to do is be building something that maybe Block.One's already building. So they're going to see what you guys are doing. They're going to know you guys are the real deal, and that they could just basically say, okay, this protocol has already been taken care of. Let's focus on this.
Yeah, I mean, it was really good to like one of the best things of being there was obviously meeting all of them, but also see the different parts of the ecosystem. So we spoke with some other guys, for instance, the guys from Everpedia, or we also spoke with some of the blog producers and so on. So like we really felt now that we were kind of welcome to the EOS community and ecosystem, and it was really good to see how like all these moving parts work together, and then how can we also bring our value to them.
Awesome. So you guys
actually to add to that, there were several projects coming to us and saying like, oh, you already do this part, you already handle this part, that's probably fine for us, that's perfect how we can just collaborate and just get a user base from the get-go because you already have the...
There's so many other teams building dApps right now, like I can't even keep track of them, and they are all going to be able to incorporate your protocol while doing their own thing.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So the FinLab story, not a lot of companies have gotten the EOS VC stamp of approval. As far as I know, Everpedia, they got a full, they're not doing an ICO because they got complete funding from Galaxy Digital. What was it, like 30 million or so? High Fidelity, they got some funding from EOS VC, but they also had other investments coming at them, so they're not doing a public sale. You guys are the first ICO or first project doing an ICO after the investment round. So you want to explain like how you got in touch with FinLab first of all, and then the press release was a bit confusing to me. It said a 7-figure investment. Are you able to kind of tell us the exact number?
I think I'm always a little uncertain, but I think we are allowed to say it's 1.5 million from FinLab. Plus we had like other seed capital already from business angels and also in Instafo. So on that end, on the seed capital, we are well funded to basically build up the project. But obviously, to make this play, much more money is needed. For that reason, it's like
I just think there's a lot of confusion because you guys, your community is still small. People were only introduced to you a week ago, and I'm kind of seeing the initial reaction in Telegram. So one of the things was a lot of people asking about an airdrop, and I think someone misspoke in your Telegram channel.
Yeah. we're planning a airdrop after ICO.
Yeah,
but it was not announced.
I think
the thing is, like, we as you mentioned, we're just so new and we're trying to like really there's a lot of work under the hood, and now I mean we are planning to do an airdrop. The only thing is that we haven't really kind of defined all the details, and that's what like was communicated like with
just nothing was finalized.
Exactly,
and they're an outside agency, so
the thing is, you kind of have to decide what you're currently focusing on. And right now, like, a lot of stuff is happening in the background. And it's not that we're just like, oh, I'm a developer and I just came up with this idea, wrote a white paper, made a nice homepage, and now everything is working. I never would have thought how much work it is to actually connect all the dots from the legal side to incorporate the company, to make everything happen with the partners. We're in so many talks right now. I'm like traveling for the last 6 weeks. That's also one of the point why the white paper was not released on the homepage yet, because we want to do it right. And it's like you have to prioritize what you're aiming for right now. So that's also the reason why we only came out now with the community work. And
one point that I would like to say, because talk about very briefly, because you mentioned like how was the connection with the EOS VC fund, and I would just say for any of you guys there looking to find funding, and I think it's available, and what we did was very simple. I mean, we just contact them and we pitch our idea, and then I mean obviously after that there was some due diligence and so on, but I would say like the community is there and they are willing to support, and not only FinLab of course, but all the other partners from EOS VC. They're looking for good projects out there, so I would say just reach out, contact them, and that's what we did. I mean, we didn't have any special.
I think one of the selling points definitely for FinLab was that we have a business backing us, which already has customers, which already know how to execute, and they know how they want to structure their business model on this decentralized platform. And having this is like quite important for us, but it's also complicating a lot of stuff. Like I said, it's like so much work in the background to actually make this happen. It's not just like a garage idea and hopefully I get funding.
So I think I want to quash some of the stuff I saw in the Telegram. I was telling you guys about it last night. We're at Oktoberfest, and I can't not read about it. I'm like in the Telegram, like, look what this guy's saying. So the community kind of Everipedia kind of set the bar really high because they were completely funded. Yeah. So they were able to gave everything back to the community. Whereas you guys, they I think raised 40 million from Galaxy. And you guys have some seed capital, and I think your hard cap is 30.
Yeah.
So you're trying to raise the same amount of capital to do the same type of stuff. And that's the reason for the ICO. And then there was some confusion because of that airdrop question being answered. That kind of got spread around. So you're doing like a dual model, which I think Lumios is doing something similar, but they're not EOS VC backed yet, at least. I don't know if that's in the cards. So let's talk about the ICO model then, because there haven't been any successful raises on an ICO yet on EOS. But what we saw last year with Ethereum was the more the ICOs grew, and let's kind of agree that it got out of hand last year. But even in the early stages, the value of the Ethereum token went up because you had all of these different projects receiving funding, and that funding's meant to last 10 years of the development roadmap. So a lot of the Ethereum was getting hodled, and it was basically controlling the float of the token, or Ethereum token. Ethereum's not a token, is it?
I wouldn't call it token.
Well,
cryptocurrency, whatever. But a lot of it was coming out of the float because the ICOs were holding it. Unfortunately, a lot of the ICOs that raised in January, February, March that were holding it, they kind of got hurt a little bit. But the good thing for you guys is EOS is cheap right now. So long term, it's got a lot of upward potential. But what I see happening is as more of these projects, you guys have the seed funding, you guys have some stuff already built out before the ICO, you're proving your concept. But you're gonna raise this EOS, and then what are you going to do with the EOS after the sale? Because you have fiat capital to give you a lot of runway. So whenever you receive the EOS is to fund you guys long term.
Yeah.
But what is your strategy for, I guess, managing the funds?
So I think there are a couple of things to your question. So the first thing is like we're very excited of once obviously we need to take out some of the money for risk management, but we're really excited of being part of the community and actually like using these EOS to vote and to promote like the good actors in the ecosystem, and also like participate in the referendum. This is something that we also want to bring value to the ecosystem. And also what is important for us is also we want to champion this idea of the ICO, because as you mentioned, that brought value to the ETH ecosystem. And we believe that obviously it got a little bit out of hands, but we believe that this is a way that the EOS community can also get value, because projects can build on here, but also they can raise funds. And as you said, like we got an initial funding, and then that was just like the seed capital that then that's why we're making the ICO to get all the rest, as compared to, for instance, you said like Europedia, they got all their money, but now we are doing the ICO to get all the other part. But we want to be those guys who are championing not only the ICO model, but also championing that, trying to bring more businesses to actual like real businesses into EOS and be there in the ecosystem.
So that's kind of what has me excited about an ICO model on EOS compared to Ethereum, because last year and still currently, these projects, they still hold a lot of Ethereum, but it does nothing for the network. So one of the other things with EOS tokens are that they have actual utility, whereas holding an ETH token isn't giving any control of the network. Hash power is the only thing that has control in a proof of work network. Holding the currency doesn't matter. But in EOS, it's with a DPoS system and all the voting and staking, and you could delegate.
Yeah.
You guys are going to have all of this EOS. So right now there is a major whale problem. A handful of wallets control a lot of the voting. So if you look at the voting numbers for block producers, for example, there's probably about 20 to 30 wallets that just have a lot of tokens. And if they choose to vote for one block producer over another, it can move them several spots in the rankings. It basically, it's not good for a DPoS system to have 30 wallets that control a lot of the network.
This also brings accountability. I think that's really valuable, and also aligns incentives, because now I think that's why we also think the ICO model makes sense for EOS, because as you bring more projects that are real creators of something valuable, then they also will kind of keep an eye on who is the block producer, because they hold the token, and they will have, as we are planning to have an actual active role in the ecosystem and say, okay, we want to promote and be part and partner with the best and the most important ones, which are doing something good for the ecosystem.
So you guys are probably planning to have someone on your team that's like kind of working with everyone else in the ecosystem and watching if the worker proposal fund, for example, gets approved. Absolutely. That's going to be really important votes. Yep. And I hope there's like more ICOs after this, because this is something not a lot of people have probably thought about. But you guys have a vested interest in the EOSIO network, the main net, because that's what you're building on.
Yeah, sure.
And then let's say 30 other projects have successful raises. That's a lot of capital being held by a decentralized group of businesses and projects. And you guys have a vested interest in the network succeeding. So it's in your best interest.
Like the dApps that build on us, they also have to stake the EOS, so they are also participating and also diversifying the EOS stakeholders. Mm-hmm. So that's also an important point, yeah.
So pretty much you guys are planning to, well, after your capital is raised, you're going to de-risk some of it, but there's still going to be probably millions of tokens. Yeah. And you guys are going to work with the block producers to kind of feel them out, figure out who the best ones are. There's a lot of really good ones. I like Grey Mask, Canada, Cypherglass, obviously, New York. So have you guys been in touch with any of them at all yet?
So no, at this point, no, because like we were focusing on getting closing the EOS investment, but now we are planning to.
I'll have to get you in touch with some of them. Crypto Lines is good. Yeah. I can continue.
Yeah, now that's what we're planning to do.
EOS
now,
Authority.
That's why we did also the event and like invited you guys.
Reach out to them.
I think you guys should do like a block producer event sometime.
Yeah,
like just like a conference almost.
Yeah,
invite the block producers, because like you could see what they're building. They're all building some cool stuff, and they're adding value to the ecosystem. But I think just like the experience of like meeting you guys and like kind of learning a lot about you like personally, it adds a lot of trust. And I think if you're gonna have a lot of stake in the ecosystem, millions of tokens, you want to make sure you're voting for the right projects and
Absolutely,
like meeting them in person, probably at conferences, hackathons, things like that. It'd be I think a great opportunity to show what you can give to the network.
We're
back.
very much looking forward into that. As I briefly mentioned before, it's like a lot more stuff going on behind the scenes than you could ever imagine. And for that reason, we have to kind of like do it step by step. And right now we came out with an announcement, and now we really want to ramp this up. But yeah, so far, as I said, it was like 6 weeks of travel. It's
so kind of walk me through like what's next. So the EOS VC announcement was made. There's probably going to be some more press releases coming up, just because I think not enough people know about you guys yet. I'm really impressed with you guys. I got to spend a lot of time with you guys. I thought the conference was great. I appreciated the opportunity of you guys getting me to introduce myself to Ivan. What's next for you guys?
Yeah, next steps are like community building and really engage, and also really important for us is also listen to the community. So we're not some corporation that just does decisions and everyone has to eat it. It's just like if people have suggestions or say like, oh, why didn't you do an airdrop? We're completely open to any suggestion. We really want to make this right. We really want to empower the whole community. We want to like bring value to the community, and for this reason we are absolutely grateful for any suggestions, also on the concept, on the white paper, whatever. I'm constantly looking for people who can give me feedback on that. For example,
I give you plenty of feedback this
weekend. It's awesome. I loved engaging with you.
I think there's also a lot of things that it's valuable. For instance, like we have several things on different fronts. So something that we haven't mentioned is that we already have like a prototype in the mainnet, EOS mainnet. So that's also, we're continuing to develop this further. And also like there's several other things, like we are also focusing quite a lot on talking with these business partners, because we believe that's also something very important for us to actually bring more use cases to the platform, to Vaeon, and that's also what we're focusing on. And then as Andreas said, like the community and actually spreading the word and executing the ICO.
So after Instafo proves the proof of concept on top of your protocol, what other types of businesses, or I know you can't name names, but what type of industries and what type of things are they doing, and what value are you adding to their businesses, and what has their response has been as you're talking to them? Because I know you've been on the road a lot.
Yeah, sure. So the response always is like, oh, data privacy, that's already a good topic. I mean, especially as we introduce in Europe, that's a huge thing. And also amongst people, the sentiment has really changed, and people are starting to realize that something has to change. So companies are always interested in this aspect anyways, and in the data privacy aspect. But also in a sense for the data monetization, right now they cannot monetize anything. And now they have the possibility, without being liable, because the user is always in control, he's always deciding what's happening. They have the chance to give this control to the user, and then they also get a transaction share whenever the data is sold. So probably you have to look
who are the
deeper
I don't think I asked this. I kind of know myself because I got an early edition of your white paper. But who are the stakeholders in this model? So you have your businesses, and then you have your users. How do they all interact? Who's getting, like, the monetization of data is going to the users. The value proposition to the application on top is that they're giving that privacy to users.
Yeah. The stakeholders in the system, to make this clear. So what we are aiming to be is kind of like a DAO, like a decentralized autonomous organization, but we call it more of a decentralized autonomous consortium.
I saw that on the presentation. A DAC is usually a decentralized autonomous company. So it's like you have to almost spell it out, because if you just say DAC, people are going to think the wrong thing.
Okay, yeah.
You said a consortium?
Yeah, a consortium.
Yeah.
So think of it, Vaeon protocol will define the future standards of data. And this is making the data interoperable between the companies. So there's a natural interest in companies to participate in voting how this data standards evolve. So if a big company joins the protocol, they already made a big business decision to invest probably several millions into developing this new application or adapting their old application to the blockchain world. So in the same step, it's like just natural to them to also buy the token to participate in how the data standards will evolve, so they are not excluded out. Because right now the problem is, if you would do the same thing centrally, the companies would just not trust like some company that's holding all data, and people would also not trust some company that's holding all their data,
like Facebook and Google.
Yeah, I mean, if you
kind of like, but it could
if
be
you think
worse,
about
like,
it, I mean, there's like the standards for data, as we said, like W3, and we believe that this will come to blockchain as well. Like there will be some standards for data, and we're trying to actually be one of the guys who do that. But as Andreas was saying, like it's important that whoever is making this needs to be independent, and also there needs to be some way to actually put your vote into how the standards evolve. So that's why we're saying like one of the key utilities of our token is this governance, and where we're saying like, of course, if like a big business partner joins to our protocol, then they will have the incentive to actually have the token because they're making a business decision to
yeah,
join.
let's talk about that. I thought that was interesting as well, how you have your own governance. So EOS has a governance model that's still kind of being ironed out, and it's getting better over time. But then you guys have an additional governance model with your token on top of that. You want to talk about like the staking of your token, what utility and governance does your token have? Because there was one feature of it I saw in your presentation that I liked, the time staking.
Oh yeah. We plan to do a time-based staking algorithm, which gives you more power after you stake, like gradually ramps up.
So the longer you're staked,
then it converges against a certain number.
So it can't go up forever.
Exactly. Yeah. So like old industry player will not be in control forever.
Yeah.
So we want to prevent
I think that.
But
like what
at the same time, we want business to be incentivized to actually be like long-term participants in this system. So I think that's a good balance to strike. But obviously, like there are so many proposals for different governance systems, and I think the whole blockchain world has to figure out what's the best thing to do. That's what we envision to be good right now. But also, I know that EOS is having a lot of discussion how they want to structure their votings. So that's what we aim for.
And also it aligns incentives for those companies, because those who are staking are mainly going to be the companies that join the protocol. So they also have an incentive that, that the standards evolve and all kind of they have their voice into this. But also that's why they are the ones that holding the tokens, because then, they have an incentive that the whole ecosystem is aligned and they have like kind of looking into each other and so on.
It's kind of about transparency. So think of a tokenized world. Right now we have these consortiums who are doing several standards, like who does USB standard, or who does the HTML standard, like W3org does the the HTML standard. So there are several consortiums which are doing all of this stuff, but obviously they are funded by companies, because companies have a large interest in participating in these consortiums. But it's not really transparent what's going on. And in a tokenized world, this is like a really go-to way to actually have this transparent on the blockchain, what's going on, who's making which decisions, and evolve this certain interest groups. So in this case, we're like the interest group of data standards. EOS has their own votings for the interest group of evolving the blockchain protocol, and there will be like, as I imagine it, there will be several layers, like side to side by us or on top of us, which will have different other decisions to make to make it happen what they envision to do.
Really cool. All right, so what? Tell me a little bit about like what you guys outside of blockchain, outside of your project. Like, tell me a little bit about yourself. I thought it was interesting. You actually went to the University of Pittsburgh.
Yes, that's kind of a funny story that we have in common. So through my German university, I got offered to go to Pittsburgh, and then I ended up saying yes and had a very nice time there at Pitt. I still have like a very special place in my heart, and I really like the city. And I think also there's a lot of things happening in your city, like with all these big companies coming, Uber and Google, and there's I think a vibrant community. So I really enjoyed it.
I thought it was funny last night because we were at the real Oktoberfest, and you mentioned the Hopferhaus, which is like a franchise. I think they have them in a lot of cities, so a lot of people watching could probably understand that. And I never thought I'd ever go to the real Oktoberfest. It's 1,000 times better than Hopferhaus. But there were a lot of similarities too, like all the songs, like the Sweet Caroline. I didn't realize like that was a thing outside of like Pittsburgh.
They also now you can see that they have like these machines and like games and like darts and like small roller coasters and.
I didn't. It was like almost like a festival, like the craziest festival I've ever seen in my life. I saw more drunk German people than I thought were in existence. And the police were so much different than in the U.S. They were just like making sure everyone was safe, not like arresting people.
That's definitely different.
Yeah,
it's
US, totally different. And like
the whole
it was
mentality.
Like, I thought you guys were crazy because we were at this, what do you even call that building we were in? Like it was a tent?
A tent.
They called it a tent, but it was a building.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
So we sat at this like big table and it had all this German food, all these like sausages and pretzels on it, and they just kept bringing you these giant jugs of beer. Like the servers would just like walk around with handfuls of beer and just set them on tables at whoever needed them. And then, like the rest of the area was a surprise because it's also like almost like a carnival.
So I wasn't dancing on the tables all the time.
I wasn't expecting there to be rides, and not just like roller coaster rides, but spinny rides. And you guys got on it, didn't you? I sat aside. How'd you guys feel after that one? Was it a mistake?
Nah, I'm used to it. I'll do anything. Roller coaster parks.
If I have a picture, I'm gonna put it on video. I think someone got one of you and Sarah.
Yeah.
So I had a blast at Oktoberfest. I appreciate you guys inviting me to Blocktoberfest, letting me talk. It was really cool getting to meet all the other people that you invited. Some very influential people. It was cool getting some feedback from Ivan and from Sarah on how like they've grown their audience and like how they've improved their show over time. So I really appreciate this trip added a lot of value to me, and I wouldn't have obviously been able to come here unless you invited me to talk to the show. All right, so we're about up on an hour here. I like to keep them under an hour. That way I can hold people's attention because it's a lot of time of theirs. But a lot of people were interested in learning more about you guys. I'm sure more is going to come out in the future as you guys put your white paper out and really grow the community. So what else would you like to tell anyone? Tell me like your Twitter. What do you want people to do?
Yeah, I think people should join our Twitter, Telegram chat. It's Vaeon Protocol. And please feel free to give us any advice that you have. I think we're like in a very fortunate situation here because I'm really like a blockchain advocate and I really love the spirit of the blockchain community. I'm really into all of this stuff. And now I got in this fortunate position to have this industry backing me, or not backing me, but backing Pedro and like the whole team. Mm-hmm. And we have this mix where we have this industry connections. We can bring enterprise grade adoption to the industry, and we can do it right. It's not like just some business guy making some decision and somewhere and like doing this blockchain project. So we really want to listen to the community. We have a like tight eye on doing this right. So
yeah, it's important for us we want to strive to make like a vibrant and strong community. So we're open to receive the feedback from the community and have an eye because as we said, we're going to put out the white paper and we're going to start putting more content actually from all these events that we had from the Blocktoberfest so that people know, as you said, there's not too much information right now. We're going to try to bring more information to the people, what we're doing, what is the next steps and what is actually happening behind the hood. So please join our Telegram, join our Twitter, and find more about it.
Yeah, so thanks for being here, and I really appreciated the time with you too because I was traveling for quite some time now, and the thing is, it's kind of always people come to me and listen to me and like, what do I have to say? But I really enjoy if I just can listen to someone and just learn a bunch of stuff. And it's like so valuable and great what you have to say about the EOS community because you do it day to day. And like, unfortunately, I was like more involved in the community before I had to travel all the time. And now it's like awesome to find people that are actually giving me so much value. It's like boom, boom, boom. Yeah, give me more, give me more.
Yeah, man, I enjoyed the conversations we had this weekend. I'll never forget them. I think that wraps up the time for today, though. I'm Zack Gall.
I'm Andreas.
I'm Pedro.
And this is Everything EOS.